Hey drummers, it's Rob Litton here from drumsandword.com. Welcome to this free full song lesson where today I'm going to show you every single bar, every single beat from the song Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, drummed of course by Mick Fleetwood. I've got all 3 pages of the chart for you, the entire song from start to finish. You can download all 3 pages of the PDF from my website for free. You'll find a link beneath this video. This song was suggested over on my Facebook page, and so if you want to make your own song suggestions, then you can go over there to do so. You'll find a link to my page beneath this video, and then when you're there, you'll see a post at the top of the page that's been pinned where I ask for your song suggestions. Type them in the comments, others get to vote on them, and the more popular songs like this one today get chosen for future lessons. You can also try typing some suggestions into the YouTube comments below. I can't promise anything, but I'm always interested to hear other song suggestions. Okay, so let's start. We got to the beginning of the song, and Mick comes in with this drum fill that gets repeated throughout the song. So this song is really ideal for beginners. There are a couple of parts that make it a little harder, so I'm going to show you how you can simplify those parts, because basically this song is for beginners. So this first drum fill is probably the hardest part. I'll show you how he actually plays it, then we can talk about simplifying it afterwards. So starting on the and of beat 3, we get these 3 notes in a row, rolling into the 4th note on beat 4. And I count them as 16th note triplets, 1 and 2 and 3 and to 4. I'm counting and to 4, and to 4. Da 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 da. Now, I'm not sure exactly what sticking Mick uses, but this is the sticking I would use, and it's the simplest sticking as well. Is we're just going to play right, left, and as you can see on the notation, the first 2 notes of the triplet are written in brackets. They're quiet notes, they're called ghost notes. Now, don't worry too much about playing them, those 2 notes exactly quiet, and then the next one normal volume. What I want you to be able to do is sort of increase the volume up towards beat 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4. Here, da 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 da. It's only 4 notes. It takes a little bit of practice to make that smooth, and then to add the dynamics on top. If you don't put the dynamics in, then it's not going to sound the same as the song. So if you want to play this note for note, then you've got to be able to play those dynamics, building from quiet to soft, soft to normal volume. So we get and to 4, and to 4, then up to the high tom. You could use the floor tom instead, but I believe Mick would use the tom in front of him. We get and then continuing the drum fill, because it really feels like it's continuing into the first bar of the drum beat, we just get the bass drum, in this case, on its own. Later in the song it's played with the snare drum and floor tom. This time it's just the bass drum on its own. 1, skip over beat 1, then we come in with the snare and crash on beat 2. And that's really how we're feeling the end of the drum fill. Mick's moving the drum fill over into the next bar, which is a cool kind of way of doing it. Rather than playing a drum fill and ending on beat 1, Mick has chosen to end it on beat 2, so it extends the drum fill a little bit further, creating a little bit of tension, I guess. It's a cool idea. So slowly, one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So you can hear how we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. That's order of notes. Feels like one drum fill, because it is 1 and 2 and 3. Then we're into our first drum beat. 1, 2, 3. So, now we can talk about simplifying it. One way you could do it is just take off those first 2 notes of the triplet. Don't worry about feeling it as a triplet, but play that last note of the triplet as like the of beat 3. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1. I'm playing left, right, and then bass drum. 1, 2, 3. That'll work just as well for the song. 1, 2, 3. That right hand is still coming down exactly on beat 4, but that left hand is just coming in before it on the, let's say, the of beat 3. 3E and duh. And if you're more advanced, you can sort of swing it a bit. 1 and 2 and 3. To make it sound a bit more triplety, but don't worry about that too much. The final thing you can do to really simplify it is to leave out those first 3 notes completely and just come in on beat 4. 4 and 1, 2, 4 and 1, or 4 and 1. However you want to stick it, it doesn't really matter. So you could play 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. If either of the 2 previous versions are just still too difficult for you, then instead of just giving up on the song, just play that simplified version. That will get across the idea. I think it's the snare drum and crash on beat 2 that people will be listening out for, not whether you got those little ghost notes, those quiet notes before the fill. So before we go and play that up to speed for you, let me go on to the next bar, bar 2. As we know, it starts with the bass drum, then the snare and crash. 1, 2, and then we come in with the hi-hat. And basically, Mick is playing for the majority of the song, the vast majority, this drum beat. Drumming 101. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Around that, he's playing some tom notes, some crashes, some extra bass drum notes, and also some open hi-hats. Now, the open hi-hats occur in this second half of the first bar of the drum beat, but they're so quiet in the mix, you might have missed them. So from beat 3 of that second bar, 3 and 4. The O is the open hi-hat, the plus is the closed hi-hat. 3 and 4 and. Mick's hi-hat is very, very low in the mix. And so he's also playing the hi-hat very, very lightly. So these hi-hat notes can definitely be left out. As we go through this song, as I explain where all the open hi-hat notes are, feel free to leave them out. Or if you missed them accidentally because you're reading and you missed where you are, don't worry about it. They're not important to the song. They're just an extra level of drumming dust you can add to the mix to make it sound a bit sweeter. But if you miss them or you find them just too much to be able to play for whatever reason, then leave them out. But they're not so hard that you couldn't have a go at them. So the first time, like I said, it happens in that second half of that bar. 3 and 4 and. Then we go on to the third bar of the first line, and it's back to our full version of the drum beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. But notice there's also an opening on the and of beat 1. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So there's our first two examples of where the open hi-hat is. Bar 4 of that first line is just our basic drum beat with our only open hi-hats. So let me just play for you that first line slowly, and I'll play up to speed for you in a moment. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Last bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then we go on to the second line. It's just 4 bars of drum beat, but look at the second bar where we get an example of a different placement of hi-hats and also our first extra bass drum note. Now, I was lucky enough to find an isolated drum track of this song, so just with Mick on the drums, someone had taken out the rest of the band for me. And so there are some secrets that appear, like these extra bass drum notes that you might not hear or think you're hearing when they're not actually being played. Also, later on when we get to bridge 1, we'll talk about that in a second, we get these tom effects which on the original drum track you can't hear, but were overdubbed because you can hear them on the actual recording. But we'll go into that in a bit. So that second bar, we get 1 and 2 and, but then we get 3 and 4. So 2 open hi-hats, first with the bass drum on 3, 3 and, then it closes on beat 4, and then we get a surprise bass drum on the and of 4. 3 and 4 and 1. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. So in that bar, there's a little bit of surprise for you, so look out for that. Again, last time I mentioned it, take out the hi-hats, open hi-hats if you want to, and the extra bass drums, if you missed them, it doesn't really matter. The rest of that line is just standard drum beat. So before we go on, let me play for you both lines of the intro up to speed without me yakking on over the top so you can hear just the drums. Here we go. So for verse 1, we've got 2 lines of 8 bars, and it is, for the first line, just 8 bars of our drum beat. Notice we go into verse 1 without any crash cymbals. Some drummers feel the need to accent the downbeat of the new section. Mick doesn't in this song in particular. He just continues with the hi-hat because it's a very sort of quiet, sort of mellow sort of song, so he's not accenting all the crashes all the time. He's saving those crash cymbals for powerful moments after the drum fills, for example. Then we go on to the second line, and again, we've got these open hi-hats. So the first bar starts with the crash, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we've got the O and of 1 and the and of 3 opening there. Both halves of the bar are the same as each other. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Bar 2 is exactly the same but without the crash. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then bar 3 just on the first half. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then the rest of that line is just standard groove, nothing else is being played. So then we go into bridge 1. Now bridge 1 is probably a little bit more advanced. You'll be playing on a normal setup, right? With a hi-hat over here. So you'll be playing like this and your right hand will move to the tom in front of you to play these notes. I'm over here, so I'm going to be moving this way. You'll be moving this way. So don't get thrown off by it. It's just where your right hand's starting. I happen to play this way around. You'll play like this and you'll move your right hand to the tom to play at the same time as the snare drum as we'll see. Now on the recording, on the drum track, those first 2 bars, this is exactly what he's playing. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Nothing's changing. I'm just moving that one right hand note from the hi-hat to the high tom on beats 2 and 4. Exactly the same as, but that's the only thing that's changing. And like I said, on the drum track, you can hear those first 2 bars are played exactly that way. But then from the 3rd and 4th bar, those tom notes disappear. But on the recording, you can still hear them. They're very soft, but you can still hear them. So I think they were overdubbed on top. Well, they were overdubbed on top, as if Mick was like, after recording it, oh, I wish I'd continued those toms throughout the entire section. No problem, said the producer. We just overdubbed them. Job done. So that's what I think happened there. It's a weird choice to suddenly stop them after 2 bars. But then on the recording, you hear them go through the entire section. So I think that was sort of not a mistake, but a decision afterwards to add them on top because it helps to build that section. So this is what I've got on the chart, what we're hearing on the recording. So it just continues. Crash cymbal on beat 1 of bar 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The second line of bridge 1, 4 more bars of that. But then we start to get the introduction of the open hi-hat things. Bar 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So 3 and 4. That same open hi-hat on 3 and again, but ending with 4. And then another extra bass drum on and a 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Then the third line, 3 more bars of that groove. And then bar 4, we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. With exactly the same choices we talked about at the beginning of the song. It's exactly the same drum fill, except it's just being led into with the drum beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Into chorus 1, where we get this idea where he plays his drum fill most of the time in the song. He goes and 4 and 1. And he plays that snare drum on beat 1. So we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And there is a bass drum there on beat 1 as well. The bass drum has always been played on beats 1 and 3, at least. So you might want to leave out the bass drum on beat 1, but it adds a bit more power to that first downbeat. 1, and then Mick does the old trick where he crashes on beat 2 with the snare drum. 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, and a sneaky little bass drum at the end of that one as well. So bar 4 into bar 1 of chorus 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1. Then chorus 1 continues, 2 more bars of this groove. Bar 4 though has an extended drum fill. It starts the same as our previous drum fill. 1 and 2 and, but this time on the and of 1, not the and of 3, so the first half of the bar. But then he continues the drum fill. We go into beat 3 with that snare drum idea and bass drum together, 3. And then I think he just placed 1 tom and 4 and, his lowest tom. You could play that one instead. I recommend right, because it's not so fast you can't. Especially if you're playing the floor tom, it's right over here rather than right, left, right. You don't have to move too much. You know, and 4 and will do. But you could play that up here instead if you wanted to. Into a crash on the next line. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. 1. So let me build up. What I recommend you do sometimes, if you've got like a big drum fill like that, is put it with the bar before, so you get like a bit of a chance to build up to the drum fill. So let's make a 2-bar loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And I'll play up speed for you in a moment. The last line of chorus 1 is just 4 bars of groove, starting with that crash cymbal. But then bar 4, look out for this, because it goes on to the second page. We get that high tom on the and of 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I recommend you play the tom with your left hand, 4 and, because then your right hand can move to a crash cymbal, and your left hand just stays on that tom, and you're going to play 1, starting the next bar on the next page. So we get and 1, and 1. Leave out that tom on beat 1 if you wanted to. You could just play and 1. It's quiet in the mix, no one's going to miss it. You can leave out that high tom completely if you wanted to. But what he actually plays on the recording, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and... You can also play 3 and 4 and 1 and if you wanted to, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. But it's a high tom I'm hearing. It's a higher pitch tom. So before we go on, let me now play for you from the second line of bridge 1 all the way through chorus 1, up to speed. Here we go. So on to page 2 where I've written chorus 1 continued. That's 8 bars in that line. We already know how the first bar starts with the tom. Look out for bar 3 with an extra bass drum note on the and of 2. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Random place to put it, but there it is on the recording. You can choose to ignore it if you miss it or whatever, don't worry about it. Then right at the end of the bar line, we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You can play and 4 and, doesn't matter what sticking you use. Again, I'll just use my left hand because I'm playing this tom. If I use that tom, I'd probably just use my right hand. I think it's a high tom. He's playing 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and simple as that. Bridge 2 then, we get a new section. So the first 2 bars start sort of as we've had previous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and. But then we get this surprise bass drum on the and of beat 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2. You want to play and 1 because that makes it feel more comfortable. There's the downbeat. But no, Mick doesn't do that. He keeps it floating in the air with that bass drum pushing on the and of 4 but not resolving on beat 1. So the third bar we get this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and again another push on the and of 4 which doesn't resolve in the next bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'll play up to speed, well, I'll play it for you in a moment so you can hear how they work next to each other. The fourth bar, 1 and 2 and 3, almost back to normal, but then he plays an extra bass drum with the snare drum on beat 4. 4 and, you might have missed it, 4 and. So that first line is kind of strange. 1 and, but it sounds cool. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. On to the next line. You can't really simplify that very much. You want to play along to it exactly, I feel, because it's a cool section. The drums get to be heard sort of on their own again, and so you're probably it'd be a lot of fun to play exactly what bass drum pattern Mick is playing in time with him. So if you want to simplify, then I guess you could take out those bass drum pushes on the and of 4 and just play 1, 2, 3, 4 during the whole section. It won't sound as good, it won't feel the same, but you'll get through it if you wanted to play that, if you find the reading aspect too difficult. Anyway, on to the next line, we get 1 and 2. Old Faithful again. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and. Again, pushing on the and of 4. Bar 2 doesn't resolve on 1. Bars 2 and 3 are exactly the same as each other. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then the last bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 ands. That one again, and 4 and 1. And he goes into snare and crash together on beat 1 and 4 and 1 and 2. So we actually get 2 snare drums on that first bar of verse 2. 1, 2. You can choose to come back to the hi-hat when you want. You don't have to come back on the and of 1. 1 and 2. You could play 1 and 2 if you wanted to. Don't have to feel you rush back to the hi-hat. That crash cymbal is filling in that gap. So before we go on, let me play that second line for you slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1. And I missed the bass drum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Let me now play for you that properly up to speed. So verse 2 starts with 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then it goes on, 3 more bars of basic groove. Bar 4 starts, bar 5, sorry, 1 and 2, 3, 4. Bar 6 has the extra bass drum note at the end as well as the last bar. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1. So look out for those extra bass drums there in bars 6 and 8. Then on to the next line, starts with the crash cymbal, no hi-hat work going on. The only thing extra is the extra bass drum notes in the very last 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and. Going into bridge 3, same as our previous section with the toms being used, except it starts with some extra hi-hat notes. So we get no crash cymbal beginning the section. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that first bar. Second bar back to normal. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. There's an extra bass drum note there if you want to include it. Bars 3 and 4, standard section apart for that bridge. Line 2, all 4 bars are exactly the same. Line 3, look out for the second bar. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Another little sneaky bass drum at the end. And then straight to bar 4 where we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Yes, so I just want to talk about the note written above it. I've written here, slight rim hit on the and beat 4. So this is funny. On the recording, on the drum track as well, you can hear Mick miss the high tom on the and beat 4. It turns almost into a rim click where he misses the head of the drum. It wasn't done on purpose. No one really does that on purpose. So it was an accident, but they kept it in because it was a good take for whatever reason. You might not even notice it. It doesn't matter. The rim click's still in time. It's just, I don't think that's what he intended to do. So if you hear it like a click on the and of 4, that is because there is a click being played there. It's like, kind of plays that accidentally. So I've just written it as, we'll try and play it how I think he meant to play it instead. If you wanted to replicate that and of 4 in the click rim, then you could if you wanted to. So we get, but it will sound like a mistake. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So instead of playing 1 as we had previously, 1, this time it's 1. It goes down to its lowest tom. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it continues the same way as we had before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So there's 2 bars again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. On it goes then to chorus 2. Straight to bar 4, we get 1 and 2, 3 and 4. He's coming to the high tom on the and of 1 and the and of 3. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Nothing's changed, it's just, again, moving that right hand just one note, or two notes in this case, just the high tom for those two placements, the hand of 1 and the hand of 3. Then we go on to, by the way, you could leave out these, the next section of the song has a lot of those ands going on. If you find those too difficult, you can leave them out. So the second line of chorus 2 starts with 1, 2. If you've got 2 crashes, that would be great because it make those 2 different crash cymbal sounds. 1 and 2. So we get from the bar previous 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you've only got 1 crash, that's fine, doesn't matter, just use the 1. Bars 2 and 3 standard stuff, and then bar 4 we have 16th note drum fill. 1 and 2 and. Now the first note I've written out on the of 2, just after that hi-hat, is written in brackets. It's a ghost note again, it's played quietly. So I'm going to be playing it as a little tap, and then 3 E and normal volume for the rest of it. 3 E and 4 E and could be 4 E and doesn't matter. I think it's the high tom. So 1 and 2 and 3. See how I'll go into it. 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and there's a bass drum on beat 3 if you want to include that. Otherwise you could leave it out. 1, 2, 3 E and 4 E and so that's the dynamics involved. 1, 2, 3 E and 4 E and sort of hear that sort of slight build up because that first note is a ghost note before beat 3 starts. For the total beginners, leave out that ghost note. Just play 1, 2, 3 E and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and don't even worry about the ghost note. But it's there, so I included it for you. So before we go on, let me now play for you the last line of bridge 3 and then the whole of chorus 2 up to speed. So on to the last page, chorus 2 continued, and look out for bars 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 3, 4, but then bar 4, it's the other end of the bar. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Exactly the same, it's just the and of 1 for the 3rd bar, the and of 3 for the 4th bar. So then the second line, bars 1 and 2 are the same as each other. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Bar 4, 3 standard stuff. Bar 4 though, guess what? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1. So starting the next bar with the snare and bass drum this time. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1. Little sneaky bass drum. Let's go straight to the last bar where we get a drum fill we've already done. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We've done that before. If you wanted to simplify it using the ideas we talked about earlier on, you could play 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and, or even simpler, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If you could play that simplified version, play the hi-hat on the and of 1 as well. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And there's a bass drum on beat 3 if you want to play it as Mick does. 4th line, just standard grooves, but there's at the end of bar 4 going into line 5, we get this idea again. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 going into that next line. Look out for bar 3, 1, 2 and 3, 4. Second to last line, just 4 bars of groove, but the 4th bar is this. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and, or and 4 and, again, whatever you feel more comfortable with. And 4 and 1, 2. Then the last line, what I've called the outro, we get 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. So extended into beat 1. I think he's playing all the same tom. It might sound like he's going down in pitch slightly, but I don't think he is. I've heard the drum track, I think it's just all one tom. And 4 and 1, going into beat 1 there with the bass drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. So bar 2 again. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Last 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. leaves out the hi-hat on the and a 4, skips over, crash on beat 1, that song ends. So the last 2 bars, just to do those for you. Last 2 lines, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And the song ends. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you had fun. If you've got any questions about any of that, feel free to email me, rob@drumstheword.com. Don't forget to download all 3 pages of the PDF from my website. Again, you'll find a link to that beneath this video. And then while you're at my website, you might want to consider signing up to become an online member at my website. And what I currently offer for $97 is a full year's online access to every single full video song lesson I've ever recorded and transcribed. And just like this lesson, I teach you the song from start to finish. You get the fully transcribed PDF drum chart. And I've got almost 500 songs on the website already, including a load of other Fleetwood Mac songs up there. And I'm sure I'll be adding more Fleetwood Mac in the future. They're a very popular choice. As a thank you for signing up, I'll give you access to hundreds more little videos teaching you many, many famous drum beats fills and even drum solos. I'll give you 3 ebooks I've written over the years containing hundreds more famous drum beats fills and solos. And then over the year of your subscription, you gain instant online access to all the new material that I upload for my members. And I record new lessons every week, so you've got lots of cool stuff to look forward to over the year of your subscription. But if you've got any questions about any of that, then feel free to email me, rob@drumstheword.com. And until our next drum lesson together, toodle pip and happy drumming to you.